I've often said that there are these brief moments in history where the safe haven assets, gold and silver, also become the assets with the greatest potential gains in purchasing power.
I'm looking now at ounce of gold compared to how much of the Dow does that buy, or the S&P, or how many ounces would it take to buy a house. And I think that there are absolutely magnificent opportunities in the future on a ratio basis.
Hi, this is Mike Maloney from goldsilver.com, and I've got my friend Chris Martenson on the video here with me. And Chris has a website called Peak Prosperity, and his YouTube channel is Chris Martenson, DOTCOM, so chrismartenson.com spelled out. And Chris does a phenomenal job of showing people how to get prepared and be resilient for crises. And lately with the coronavirus crisis, he has just exploded in popularity. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm a little tired because I've been producing a video a day for about 55 days with, I think, 2 days off so far. So it's been a run.
I want to let everybody know that we just did part 1 of this interview over on your channel. And so this is sort of a continuation of that video. So anybody that didn't watch that video over on Chris's channel, please go to Chris Martenson, DOTCOM is the YouTube channel. Or you can find a link on peakprosperity.com. So, Chris, one of the things that, when we first met, you had just created something called the Crash Course. And I saw it, and I was just absolutely bowled over by it. I watched all of the episodes, and you have a piece on exponential growth, but that's how we first met. And I called you, and we got together, and I helped promote your video series. And it's sort of led to a friendship that's lasted quite a while. And you and Adam came out to California. You came out back in 2012, I think it was, or later, and we filmed a piece on exponential growth. And or maybe that was a little bit later. But can you explain a little bit of exponential growth and how that applies to our monetary system and a planet that isn't unlimited? It's a spherical planet that does have its limits.
Yeah, thanks. And I remember that trip fondly because we also took a trip in your Tesla and drove all the way down and saw Richard Russell, who people don't know who that is. He was really one of my heroes of the time, the Dow Theories letter guy. And God, I would love to know what he thinks about things today. He passed a while ago, sadly. But that was a great trip. And sure, this whole thing, exponential growth, is just not something we're really wired to understand as humans, but we're surrounded by it, and our money system is based on it. The coronavirus is exploding in case number exponentially. And so the fault that we have as humans is we're just not wired up for that exponential growth. So it catches us off guard all the time. And underneath it, though, there's this larger critique. I won't even call it a criticism. It's more a critique of our financial system, is that it's based on debt-based money that has to constantly, or currency, debt-based currency that has to constantly grow by some percentage, And if it is growing, it's kind of happy. And if it's not growing, it's threatening to collapse. And so it's really an unstable monetary or currency system. And that's what we've saddled ourselves with. I'm sure it made a lot of sense in 1913, but today you can look across the world and you can say, wow, it's not infinite. So if we have this money system that has to grow, or currency system has to grow infinitely on a finite planet, the critique is that's a dumb system, right? So that's the one we have, and it's always been waiting for something to get into trouble with, right? It could be a war, it could be a resource shortage, or something like the coronavirus, which exposes it all of a sudden to not be this robust system of price discovery and capital allocation. It's really a system for concentrating wealth and for creating the sorts of misallocations that when they get exposed, the whole thing just crumbles. Like it was, you remember, like everything was so robust in early February. Like, stocks are hitting all-time new highs. And today, what a different story we're talking about. So,
Right.
so that's in large measure because of the system of currency that we've put in place, our debt-based currency system. It's a fragile system. It's designed to either work or be breaking. It's right now it's breaking.
Yeah, you mentioned how just a couple of months ago everything was so robust. I watched the State of the Union address, and markets hitting all-time highs. The economy's never been better. Unemployment is at its all-time lows, or lows since the '60s. And here, just a couple of months later, with the complete shutdown of the world economy, and the parts that aren't shut down yet will soon be shut down. I just feel that we're facing a financial Armageddon here because they've created a system that is so complex. And the complexity creates fragility. And it's so complex that there isn't anybody that can understand it. And what you see right now is, when I'm on the Fed's website, and I'm on there a lot generating charts and stuff, what I see is that there's no possibility that anybody can actually understand the financial system. There's so many moving parts all over the place. It is not possible for anybody at the Federal Reserve to understand the monetary system and the financial system, or anybody else on the planet. There isn't even any team of people that can understand it because of all the moving parts. And they are basically taking a wild-ass guess at everything. They had regular open market operations going up until 2008, and then they just turned off that and the repurchase agreements facility. You hear a lot about repurchase agreements nowadays, or repos, because that's one of the ways that the Federal Reserve and they create a whole bunch of currency that way. But they shut that off, and it was turned off for more than a decade, and then they turned it back on last September. And now they're running that in parallel with a new QE program, and QE is something completely different. The way they create currency is completely different from the way they created currency before 2008. So it's like they're just taking these wild-ass guesses on, well, maybe if we try this, maybe if we try that. And the free market is the sum total of everybody. It's all the transactions in a society, and you can't actually know more than all the transactions in society. But these people that think that they can dial the economy up and dial it down, pull this lever and push that button, they've got such arrogance that they think that they can control this. And they've sort of been lucky over the past several years, but now it's all becoming exposed. And what Ben Bernanke did in 2008, that response to that crisis, and then not shutting it off, the constant stimulus that we had, and then we had tax cuts at the end of the longest expansion in U.S. history. These things just set us up. I was writing a book, and now stuff that's in the book is becoming outdated before I can finish the book. But I keep on saying, the higher the cliff, the bigger the fall. In the first video, you had an analogy of a ladder. But can you tell us your thoughts just on the Federal Reserve System, on hard assets, which is one of the things that you were talking about? You've got farmland there. You're in your new house, right now?
Yes, I am. That's what's behind me here. And
yeah, and you've got how many acres outside?
182 on this piece of property.
Wow.
25 of those are prime farmland. Feels really good to be here.
Wow. Yeah. And this is what's going to have value in the future.
Yep. Yeah. There's already an article in New York Times saying that New Yorkers are fleeing and looking for properties in the country. I thought that was coming a while ago. I didn't realize, what the exact, I thought it was going to be longer. I didn't, coronavirus just accelerated everybody's sort of plans and timelines on things. But, the larger model we've been working with was one that we got from Eric Jansen of iTulip. I haven't heard much from him lately, but he had this great model, and he called it kapoom, right? Because there's some deflationary implosion, ka, and then poom is when the Federal Reserve or the other central banks react to that, right? So that's what we're in right now, this just massive deflationary impulse. You can just feel it, right? And the
Yep.
Fed's quick throwing money into every possible channel, QE and repos, and who knows what they'll do next, right? Because they're just flailing around because this monster they built just ran out of oxygen and is collapsing. And so the next thing they're going to do is they're going to just print like crazy, of course. And I think that it takes time for investors, it's market psychology, to change. But when it does, they're going to get right to where you've been for a long time, which is, oh, all that paper stuff is just games and illusions and mirages and hocus pocus. What's real? Oh, real stuff is tangible things that I can get my hands on and that I can know and understand and touch, right? So land, food, water, right down the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of need, anything that takes human effort and energy to pull out of the ground and transform is real value. But, running a structured tranche of CDOs on a ladder of MBS, is like, what is that? Financialization. So that's what the Fed enabled forever and ever, was this huge era of financialization, which is very simply just making money with money. That's it. They use currency to manufacture more currency, but they didn't make anything, right? They're parasites on the whole system. Good riddance to them, by the way. That whole system can just go away and I won't shed a single tear. But we're going to get back to basics now. And I think that we all sort of wake up from this collective delusion that you can print your way to prosperity. And we find out that real prosperity is hard, involves hard work. It's worthwhile. It has meaning. It has purpose, but it doesn't just get printed and distributed. But believe me, the Fed's going to try and print and distribute first.
Yes. And I think that that's a disguised opportunity. Right now, it's pretty scary, but there is an opportunity there. You were talking about exponential growth and how quickly coronavirus came at us. So I want all of my viewers to go over to peakprosperity.com and watch the crash course, especially the one on exponential growth. And then in one of the episodes of Hidden Secrets of Money, is that episode 10, Chris, that it's in?
I think it is, yep.
Yeah. There's you're in it explaining exponential growth, and we've animated the sequence. So it makes it easy for people to understand.
Yeah, that's good. So I have to ask you, because we hinted at it in the earlier video. So today with a big drop in silver, so I immediately went to goldsilver.com and I said, let's get me some silver. And I saw estimated delivery dates were out in April 15th when I checked. So I went to a couple other sites and guess what? I couldn't find any silver for purchase at these prices. You're on the inside of this whole thing. Tell us what's been going on behind the scenes there.
Well, this same thing happened back in 2008, so I've seen it before. And what happens here, the price is dropping because paper contracts are being liquidated. We've got the way the spot price of gold and silver, as you know, because you've studied this in depth, but the spot price is set by paper contracts that you can make. You can create them in unlimited quantities, futures contracts. And that sets the price on the exchanges. And then the physical follows this, except in a crisis like right now. Silver went down into the high 11s, but the price of bars and actual bars and coins that you could actually get delivered to you did not go down. And yes, some products will arrive faster than our quoted times. But all the dealers are out about a month now for delivery. However, there's a storage option, and as soon as a trade is placed, as soon as somebody purchases something, we purchase a futures contract until we actually have the physical, and then we sell the moment we get the physical, we sell the futures contract back, and that way it doesn't matter what the price does between the delivery between the time that you buy and the time that it's delivered. The price could rise, the price could triple, and we can buy that silver that has tripled in price and deliver it at that price that you bought it at, that's 1/3, and we won't lose anything. That's how we do this. And so if you buy it in a storage account, which we offer at Brinks, so you've got a storage account where you've hired basically guys with guns, and it's fully insured in some of the highest security vaults, but you can sell it back instantly even if it hasn't been delivered yet. So it's highly liquid. And then the currency will be back in your account. That might be running processing times when you get slammed. I mean, our business is suddenly up like 400 or 500% from where it was just a week or two ago. And so everybody is slammed. And then the premiums are starting to rise because all of the suppliers are running out of it. And so to actually get physical, silver went down to the 11s, but not real silver. That was the paper silver that went to 11s. If you look at real silver, it was still like 14, 15 bucks at the time. It didn't really take that plunge. Back in 2008, same thing happened. The silver fell down into the 8s, I believe it was, from 21 all the way down to the 8s. When it was $8 and something, a friend of mine in Chicago went into his local coin shop and they were selling 100-ounce bars at $18 an ounce. So more than double the spot price. And then I was giving I was speaking at a conference in Florida on the day that silver bottomed. And so here you've got these really low spot prices, the paper contracts. But if you wanted real silver, you could go on eBay and you could purchase Silver Eagles for $32, $36 per ounce. So multiples of the spot price. So this does happen. You know, I've often said that there are these brief moments in history where the safe haven assets, gold and silver, also become the assets with the greatest potential gains in purchasing power. And that means that someday you want to sell those and trade them for some sort of asset or whatever. So, Chris, how do you buy precious metals, and what is your strategy for selling? What's your exit strategy on this? How do you see the future?
It's a great question. You know, as a student of history, and I learned a lot from you, and I learned a lot from reading widely. And, you know, we've all heard it quoted, especially anybody who's been in the gold space for a while, that you know, today a ounce of gold buys you a really finely tailored suit, and it used to buy you a really finely tailored toga, same amount once upon a time. So I've been a fan of, it took me a while to decouple my head from the dollar price of things. And what I care more about is the ratio price. So I'm looking now at ounce of gold compared to how much of the Dow does that buy, or the S&P, or how many ounces would it take to buy a house. And I think that there are absolutely magnificent opportunities in the future on a ratio basis to trade the gold for things that I really care about. And so one of the things I care about a lot is land. So I'm watching the land to gold ratio very, very carefully. And in my neck of the woods, when it gets back to a place where there's about a 1-to-1 ounce per acre, a swap, I will start making that swap at that point in time. Silver is actually something I don't really have a strategy for selling. It's more of my, I'm going to pass this on to my grandkids as yet unborn, you know, kind of a thing. It really feels like a legacy, a family legacy sort of a thing. And I figure I can't lose because my great grandkids as yet unborn, grandkids unborn, someday they're going to have this pile of silver and they're going to get, the only one of two ways they can interpret that. They can either go, this guy was a genius, a complete genius that set the family up. What an amazing guy. Or they're going to think, wow, what a nut. I got to learn more about this guy. So either way, I'm a family, like my legacy is assured.
That's hilarious. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me here. And thank you so much for having me on your channel in the earlier video. I want to remind all of our viewers to go over to peakprosperity.com. And check out Chris's website. And then if you want the latest on coronavirus, you need to go to Chris Martenson, DOTCOM is the name of the YouTube channel. So thanks a lot, Chris.
Thanks, Mike. It's been a real pleasure being here with you.
Okay. And we'll see all of you viewers next time. Thank you very much for being here.
All right. Bye-bye.